Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of longevity.
Ooh, exciting.
You guys shared excerpts from Dr. Peter Attia's book, Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity.
Yeah.
So we're going to break down some of the key insights and hopefully uncover some surprises along the way.
Okay.
I've been thinking a lot about what those later decades would ideally look like.
Well, that's a great starting point, actually.
Oh, is it?
Dr. Attia calls that defining your objective.
Defining your objective.
Okay.
It's the first step in his three-part longevity strategy,
Okay.
which he compares to a boxer training for a fight.
Okay, so round one, figure out what kind of fight you're training for. What does winning even look like for you?
Exactly. Then you can develop a strategy, which is your trading plan.
Okay.
And finally, you choose the tactics,
Tactics.
the specific exercises and techniques you'll use.
Got it. So he also mentions this idea of a centenarian decathlon. What's that all about? Think of it like this. You're 100 years old. How well can you move? Can you get up off the floor without help? Can you walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded? These are the kinds of everyday abilities that determine your quality of life in those later decades.
So it's not about training for some far-off event. It's about maintaining the ability to do everyday things.
Yes.
Even at 100,
Mm-hmm.
makes you think twice about skipping leg day.
Right.
I don't-
Absolutely. And that's where Dr. Attia's three-part strategy comes in.
Okay.
By first figuring out what's important to you,
Right.
you can then build a personalized plan to stay functionally fit,
Okay.
even in your later years.
So speaking of personalized plans,
Mm-hmm.
he dives into some pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
He talks about this drug called rapamycin,
Uh-huh.
which seems to be making waves in the longevity world.
Mm-hmm.
Is this some kind of secret fountain of youth pill I haven't heard about?
Not quite a fountain of youth,
Okay.
but it's definitely intriguing.
Okay.
Rapamycin was originally used to prevent organ rejection in transplant patients, but studies have shown it can actually extend lifespan in several species.
Okay. That's wild. How does it even work?
It targets a cellular pathway called mTOR,
MTOR.
which is basically a control panel for cell growth and metabolism.
Wow.
Imagine a dimmer switch that can slow down the aging process at the cellular level.
Okay.
That's essentially what rapamycin seems to do.
So it's not about stopping aging altogether. It's more like slowing down the clock a bit.
Exactly, and that's why it's generating so much excitement.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, the research is still in its early stages, especially when it comes to long-term effects on humans.
Right. It's probably too soon to stock up on rapamycin just yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's switch gears to something a little more familiar like cholesterol.
Okay.
What does Dr. Attia have to say about that?
He challenges some common misconceptions.
Okay.
It's not just about the total amount of cholesterol, but the type and how it's packaged.
Okay.
Specifically, he focuses on a protein called APOB,
APOB.
which is found on LDL particles,
Okay.
what we often call bad cholesterol.
I see. So it's not as simple as good versus bad.
Right. ApoB is what actually drives the buildup of plaque in our arteries,
Uh-huh.
increasing the risk of heart disease.
Gotcha.
Dr. Attia suggests that measuring ApoB levels can give us a much clearer picture of our cardiovascular risk than just looking at total cholesterol.
Okay. So it's like looking under the hood instead of just checking the gas gauge.
Yeah. Oh.
Makes sense. Now, he also tackles another big one, cancer. Does he offer any groundbreaking insights there?
Well, he calls cancer the runaway cell
The runaway cell.
and highlights the challenges of treating a disease so closely linked to aging.
Right.
He dives into some fascinating research on how cancer cells fuel their growth,
Okay.
which is different from normal cells.
Wait, so cancer cells have their own unique fuel source. Tell me more.
Think of it this way. Imagine your cells are at a buffet with all kinds of food,
Okay.
but the cancer cells only want sugar.
Oh.
Even when there's plenty other fuel around, they're obsessed with sugar. This is called the Warburg effect.
That's an interesting analogy. So they're like those kids who only eat chicken nuggets.
Exactly. And scientists are trying to use this picky eater behavior to develop new treatments
Okay.
that specifically target cancer cell metabolism.
So it's not just about killing cancer cells, but about understanding how they operate and potentially cutting off their fuel supply. Clever.
He also discusses immunotherapy,
Immunotherapy.
which uses your body's own immune system to fight cancer.
Okay.
Specifically, he highlights something called checkpoint inhibitors,
Okay.
which essentially release the brakes on your immune system,
Oh.
allowing it to attack cancer cells more effectively.
So it's like giving your immune system a power-up. Are there any other breakthroughs he mentions in the fight against cancer?
He talks about liquid
And
biopsies,
liquid biopsies.
which are a new frontier in cancer detection.
Wow.
Imagine being able to detect cancer early, even before symptoms appear, just by analyzing a blood sample. That's what liquid biopsies offer.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Catch it early, treat it early now. He doesn't shy away from tough topics either. He also addresses Alzheimer's disease,
Yeah.
which can be a scary one since it affects not just physical health, but cognitive function too.
Right, he does, and he questions the prevailing theory,
Oh, really?
the amyloid hypothesis,
Okay.
which suggests that the buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain is the primary cause of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
He points out that many drugs targeting amyloid haven't been very successful in clinical trials.
Oh, wow. So if amyloid isn't the whole story, what else might be going on?
He suggests Alzheimer's might not be a single disease,
Interesting.
but a spectrum of conditions with various causes and subtypes.
Wow.
He emphasizes the importance of vascular health, the health of blood vessels in the brain.
Right.
Just like with heart disease, compromised blood flow can have serious consequences.
It makes sense. Our brains need a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients to function properly. So he's suggesting that keeping our blood vessels healthy could protect our brains as we age.
Exactly, and he highlights the role of lifestyle factors like exercise and cognitive stimulation in maintaining brain health.
It seems like proactive health measures are a recurring theme here, whether we're talking about heart disease, cancer, or Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Dr. Attia seems to be advocating for a more proactive approach to health, rather than waiting for things to go wrong.
You got it. He stresses the importance of building resilience across all aspects of our lives, from our cells to our minds.
Now, speaking of building resilience, Dr. Attia is a big advocate for exercise,
Yeah.
and not just for the obvious physical benefits. What's his take on how exercise impacts longevity?
He sees it as a powerful tool for not just physical health,
Right.
but also for cognitive and emotional well-being.
Right.
Remember that centenarian decathlon we talked about?
Yes.
So exercise is key to maintaining those abilities as we age.
Right. It's one thing to live to be 100, but it's another thing to be able to function and enjoy life at that age. So what kind of exercise does he recommend?
He highlights the importance of strength training, stability exercises, and Zone 2 cardio training.
Okay.
Zone 2 training is particularly interesting.
Okay, what is it?
It's a type of aerobic exercise where you're working hard but not pushing yourself to the limit.
Oh, so it's about building endurance rather than going all out.
Precisely. Zone 2 training helps improve the function of our mitochondria,
Mitochondria.
the powerhouses of our cells.
Yes.
Dr. Attia believes this is crucial for maintaining energy levels and preventing age-related decline.
It makes sense. We need efficient energy production for everything our bodies do. He even shares an inspiring story about an 81-year-old named Barry Wright.
Yes. Barry's a fantastic example of the transformative power of exercise.
Yeah.
Through targeted exercise, he was able to regain strength, mobility, and even a renewed sense of purpose.
It's never too late to start right. Now let's move on to another crucial aspect of health nutrition.
Okay.
This could be a confusing topic with so many conflicting opinions and fad diets. Does Dr. Attia have any clear guidance on navigating this nutritional maze?
He does, and he doesn't mince words.
What does he say?
He cautions against getting caught up in the tribalism of specific diets.
You mean those endless debates about low carb versus vegan?
Exactly. He emphasizes that there is no one-size-fits-all solution
Okay.
when it comes to nutrition.
Right.
What works best for one person may not work for another.
Makes sense. So it's more about finding what works best for you rather than blindly following the latest diet trend.
Absolutely. But he does highlight some key principles of healthy eating,
Okay, what are they?
like calorie restriction,
Calorie restriction.
adequate protein intake, and choosing healthy fats.
Calorie restriction, that rings a bell. Didn't we talk about that in relation to rapamycin?
We did. And it turns out that calorie restriction, whether achieved through medication or lifestyle changes,
Yeah.
seems to have a positive impact on longevity across the board.
Okay, so we're seeing some connections here.
Yeah.
Exercise, nutrition, even medication.
Yeah.
They all seem to influence each other in the quest for longevity.
They do. And that's what makes Dr. Attia's approach so fascinating. He's not just offering a list of things to do. He's trying to build a comprehensive understanding
Right.
of how these different elements of health and longevity interact.
This is definitely giving me a lot to think about in terms of my own approach to health now.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one last essential pillar we need to discuss: sleep.
Sleep. Dr. Attia calls it the master regulator,
The master regulated.
emphasizing its crucial role in overall health and longevity.
Okay.
He explains how poor sleep can negatively impact everything,
Everything.
from metabolism to hormone balance, cognitive function, and even increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, you've definitely caught my attention. I'm already feeling guilty about that late-night Netflix binge I had last night. What specific insights does Dr. Attia offer about sleep?
He emphasizes the importance of sleep hygiene.
Sleep hygiene. Okay.
Think of it as creating the ideal conditions for restful sleep.
Okay.
Things like dimming the lights, minimizing noise, and keeping your bedroom cool. He even advises against using electronic devices in the hour before bed because the blue light they emit can disrupt our sleep.
So those late-night scrolls through social media are a no-no.
He'd advise against it. The blue light messes with our production of melatonin,
Okay.
which is a hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle.
Interesting. I've heard about melatonin, but never fully understood how it works. What else does he suggest for getting a good night's sleep?
Well, consistency is key.
Consistency.
He recommends sticking to a regular sleep schedule,
Okay.
going to bed and waking up around the same time each day,
Oh.
even on weekends.
Easier said than done sometimes, but I can see how that would help regulate your body's natural rhythm.
Yeah.
Any other sleep tips?
He also emphasizes the importance of managing stress.
Okay.
When we're stressed out, it's harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Stress seems to be the villain in so many health scenarios. So
Yeah.
are we talking meditation, deep breathing exercises, things like that?
Exactly. Finding ways to relax and de-stress before bed can make a big difference in sleep quality. He also discusses sleep disorders like insomnia and sleep apnea,
Yeah.
which can require professional help.
That's a good reminder that if you're having persistent sleep problems, it's worth talking to a doctor. Now, before we move on to part 2,
Yeah.
I have to ask, he talks about something called chronotypes.
He does. That refers to our individual sleep-wake preferences.
Chronotypes.
Some people are naturally early birds,
Yeah.
while others are night owls.
So it's not just a matter of willpower. Some people are actually wired to be more alert at different times of the day.
Right, our chronotypes are influenced by our genetics and can even change throughout our lifespan.
Oh, wow.
Teenagers, for instance, tend to have a later chronotype, which is why they often struggle to wake up early for school.
That makes so much sense. It explains a lot about my teenage years. So if I'm understanding correctly, Dr. Attia is saying that we should try to work with our natural chronotype rather than fight against it.
He is trying to force ourselves into a sleep schedule that doesn't align with our natural rhythms, can backfire and lead to all sorts of health problems.
Okay, so embracing your inner night owl or early bird could be the key to better sleep. Now, we've covered a lot of ground already, but Dr. Attia goes even deeper. He delves into the often overlooked world of emotional health. Is this where things start to get a little more personal?
They do. In fact, he gets very personal,
Right.
sharing his own struggles with emotional health and how it impacted his life.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about his experience at a treatment center called The Bridge,
The bridge.
where he learned valuable tools for managing his emotions and improving his relationships.
That's pretty brave of him to be so open about his personal challenges.
Yeah.
I wonder what prompted him to share those experiences.
It highlights the importance of normalizing conversations about mental health.
Right.
We often focus on the physical aspects of longevity, but our emotional well-being is just as crucial.
I can definitely see that. So he's not just offering advice from on high, he's sharing his own journey, which makes it feel more relatable. He specifically mentions dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT. Can you explain what that is?
DBT is a type of therapy that focuses on developing skills for regulating emotions, tolerating distress,
Yeah.
and improving interpersonal relationships.
Right.
It helps you build resilience and coping mechanisms.
So it's not just about talking about your feelings, it's about learning practical skills to manage them.
Exactly. Dr. Attia found it incredibly helpful in addressing his own emotional struggles.
Yeah.
He feels strongly that it can be a valuable tool for anyone looking to improve their mental and emotional well-being.
You know, it's refreshing to hear someone who's achieved so much in science and medicine also acknowledge the importance of emotional health. It feels like a much more holistic approach to longevity.
Absolutely. He emphasizes that emotional health isn't a destination, it's a journey.
Oh.
It's an ongoing process of learning, growing, and developing healthier habits.
So it's about progress, not perfection. I like that. It takes the pressure off.
Right, and it's a journey worth taking.
Yeah.
Our emotional well-being impacts every aspect of our lives, including our physical health and longevity.
Okay. This conversation is definitely getting deeper than I expected. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. The physical, the mental, the emotional. It's all interconnected. But I'm also realizing how much work I still have to do.
Don't worry, we're all on this journey together, and Dr. Attia provides a roadmap for how to navigate it.
Okay.
He encourages us to ask ourselves why we want to live longer. What are our goals, our passions? What do we want to accomplish with those extra years?
That's a great question. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of longevity without stopping to ask ourselves why it matters. What are we actually living for?
He stresses that longevity isn't just about extending lifespan.
Right.
It's about enhancing health span.
Health span.
Those years lived with vitality, purpose, and joy.
So it's not just about adding years to our lives, but about adding life to our years.
Exactly. And that's what Dr. Attia's book is all about.
Okay.
It's a guide to living longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives,
Uh-huh.
both physically and emotionally.
Okay. This is definitely giving me a lot to think about. I'm already feeling inspired to make some changes in my life. But before I get ahead of myself, I think we need to pause here for a moment. We'll pick up this conversation in part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve into more of Dr. Attia's practical strategies for achieving those longevity goals. See you soon.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dr. Peter Attia's Outlive.
So last time we were talking about sleep
Right. Sleep.
and how even small disruptions can impact our health.
Yeah.
It really opened my eyes to how crucial sleep is for everything,
It is.
from metabolism to even preventing Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And Dr. Attia seems to be a big proponent of something called sleep hygiene, right?
He is.
So what is that? What is sleep hygiene?
Think of sleep hygiene as a set of habits and practices that create the conditions for good sleep.
Oh, okay.
A good night's sleep.
So it's like creating the perfect sleep sanctuary.
Exactly. It's about setting the stage for restful sleep.
Gotcha.
On top of its common sense.
Like
Making sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
right, creating that cave-like atmosphere.
But he also goes deeper.
Oh,
He points out that even seemingly small things like watching TV or scrolling on your phone right before bed
yeah, I do that.
can disrupt your sleep.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that.
That's something a lot of people do.
Yeah, something about those screens keeps me up way past my bedtime.
It's the blue light they emit.
The blue light.
It interferes with the production of melatonin,
Melatonin.
the hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle.
Okay,
Dr. Attia recommends avoiding screens for at least an hour before bed.
okay, that's a tough one. But I'm willing to give it a try. Any other surprising sleep tips from Dr. Attia?
He's a big advocate for consistency.
Consistency.
Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
I'm sensing a theme here. Consistency seems to be key, whether we're talking about exercise or sleep.
You're catching on. Our bodies thrive on routine.
Yeah.
He also stresses the importance of managing stress.
Okay.
If your mind is racing, it's much harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Again, stress rears its ugly head. What does he recommend for winding down before bed?
Things like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or even just spending some time in nature can make a big difference.
Yeah.
He also talks about the importance of addressing sleep disorders like insomnia and sleep apnea,
Right.
which might require professional help.
So if those late night worries are keeping you up, it might be worth talking to a doctor.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on,
Yeah.
I remember you mentioning something called chronotypes earlier.
Right. This refers to our individual sleep-wake preferences.
Chronotypes.
Some people are naturally early birds, while others are night owls.
Yeah. So it's not just about discipline. Some people are actually wired to be more alert at different times of day.
Exactly. Our chronotypes are influenced by our genetics and can vary throughout our lifespan.
Okay.
Teenagers, for instance, tend to have a later chronotype, which is why they often struggle to wake up early for school.
That makes so much sense. It explains a lot about my teenage years.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Dr. Attia is saying that we should try to work with our natural chronotype rather than fight against it.
He is trying to force ourselves into a sleep schedule that doesn't align with our natural rhythms, can backfire and lead to all sorts of health problems.
Okay, so embracing your inner night owl or early bird could be the key to better sleep. Now, switching gears a bit. Dr. Attia also dives into the world of emotional health, which, let's be honest, isn't always the first thing that comes to mind when we think about longevity.
You're right, it often gets overlooked, but he considers it absolutely essential.
Yeah.
He actually gets quite personal in the book,
Does he?
sharing his own struggles with emotional health
Yeah.
and how they impacted his life.
It's pretty amazing that he's so open about his own journey. It makes you realize that even someone who seems to have it all figured out
Right.
can still struggle with these things. What were some of his personal insights?
Well, he talks about his time at a treatment center called The Bridge.
The bridge.
He credits the experience with teaching him valuable tools for managing his emotions
Okay.
and building healthier relationships.
That's inspiring. It sounds like he really had to do some deep inner work. I'm curious, what specific tools or techniques did he find helpful?
He highlights dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT.
DBT, okay.
It's a type of therapy that focuses on developing skills for regulating emotions,
Okay.
tolerating distress, and improving interpersonal effectiveness.
So it's less about talking about your feelings and more about equipping you with practical skills to handle difficult situations.
Exactly. He found DBT incredibly helpful in his own life.
Yep.
And believes it can benefit anyone looking to enhance their emotional well-being.
You know, it's refreshing to hear someone in the field of science and medicine acknowledge that our emotions play a vital role in overall health and longevity. I feel like that perspective is often missing from conventional healthcare.
He's definitely advocating for a more holistic approach.
Yeah.
He emphasizes that emotional health is not a destination, but a journey.
Well,
It's an ongoing process of learning, growing, and developing healthier habits.
that takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of emotional bliss, but
Yeah.
rather continuously striving to improve and grow.
Precisely. And he emphasizes that it's a journey worth taking because our emotional well-being impacts every facet of our lives, including our physical health.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces sleep. Emotional health, exercise, nutrition, they all fit together to form this bigger picture of longevity.
Hmm.
Now, before we dive into more of Dr. Attia's specific strategies, I want to touch on something we briefly mentioned earlier.
Okay.
He talks about defining the why of longevity, right?
He encourages us to ask ourselves why we want to live longer, what are our goals, our passions. Right.
What do we hope to accomplish with those extra years? It's a crucial question
Yeah.
because it helps us define what a fulfilling life truly means to us.
I can see how getting clear on your why could be a powerful motivator for making sustainable changes. It's not just about living longer, it's about living better.
He stresses that longevity is not solely about extending lifespan, but about enhancing health span.
Health span.
Those years lived with vitality, purpose, and joy.
So it's about making the most of the time we have, no matter how long that may be.
Absolutely, and that's what Dr. Attia's book is all about.
Okay.
It's a guide to living longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives, both physically and emotionally.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm eager to hear more about Dr. Attia's specific recommendations for putting all of this into practice. I think we need to pause here again and continue this fascinating conversation in part 3 of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Dr. Attia's Outlive, and I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty, like how do we actually put all of this into practice? Well, he's very much about a data-driven approach.
Okay.
He emphasizes regular testing and monitoring, using biomarkers to track our progress.
biomarkers like cholesterol and blood sugar and all that.
Exactly. He provides a detailed guide to the various biomarkers he recommends tracking,
Okay.
along with the optimal ranges for each one.
Now that sounds really helpful, but wouldn't all that testing get expensive?
It can, but Dr. Attia argues that investing in your health up front
Yeah,
can save you a lot of money and suffering down the road.
makes sense.
He also acknowledges that access to healthcare can be a challenge,
Yeah, for sure.
and he provides some guidance on navigating the system.
Okay, so it's about being proactive and informed, not just passively waiting for things to go wrong.
Exactly. He wants you to be an active participant in your healthcare journey.
I like that.
In fact, he stresses the importance of building a team of healthcare providers who share your longevity goals.
It's like assembling your own personal A-team for longevity.
I like that. He emphasizes finding doctors who are proactive, data-driven, and willing to collaborate with you.
Okay, so doctors who see the bigger picture, not just isolated symptoms.
Exactly.
That sounds ideal, but how do you even find doctors like that?
He offers some practical advice, like asking the right questions during consultations and not being afraid to seek second opinions.
Right.
He also emphasizes the importance of educating yourself
Right.
about the latest research and advancements in longevity science.
So it's about becoming your own health advocate, doing your own research, and finding healthcare providers who align with your goals.
Exactly. He wants you to be empowered, not just blindly following whatever your doctor tells you.
Right now, in addition to testing, monitoring, and building a team, what about those lifestyle factors we talked about earlier? Exercise, nutrition, sleep. How do those fit into his overall framework?
He emphasizes personalization and experimentation.
Okay.
He provides a range of options and encourages you to try different things
Okay.
and see what works best for your body and lifestyle.
So there's no one-size-fits-all prescription.
Right. What works for one person may not work for another.
Yeah.
It's about listening to your body, paying attention to how different foods, exercises, and sleep habits make you feel. He wants you to be a scientist of your own body.
I love that analogy. It's about being curious and paying attention to the feedback your body gives you.
And he emphasizes finding joy in the process.
Okay.
He wants you to approach longevity as an adventure, a journey of discovery and self-improvement.
That sounds much more appealing than following some rigid, restrictive plan.
He wants you to find ways to integrate healthy habits into your life in a way that feels good and sustainable, not like a chore.
Right.
He also talks about the importance of mindset.
Oh, how does mindset play into all of this?
He emphasizes the power of our beliefs and attitudes in shaping our health and longevity. He encourages us to cultivate a growth mindset, believing that we can continue to learn, grow, and improve throughout our lives.
So it's not just about our physical bodies, it's about our mental and emotional state as well.
Exactly. He stresses the importance of staying positive, optimistic, and resilient, even in the face of challenges.
Yeah.
He believes our mindset plays a crucial role in our ability to age gracefully and thrive.
It's inspiring to think that we have more control over our health and longevity than we often realize.
That's exactly Dr. Attia's message. He's giving us a roadmap, a framework, but ultimately it's up to each of us to take charge of our own health destiny.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. I'm feeling inspired to take a more proactive approach to my health. What would you say is the most important thing you want our listener to take away from this conversation?
For me, it's the message of empowerment. We're not passive victims of aging. We have the power to influence our health and longevity through the choices we make every day.
Yeah.
Dr. Attia's book gives us the tools to make informed choices, but it's up to each of us to use them.
It's about taking control and making choices that support a longer, healthier, more fulfilling life.
Exactly. It's about embracing the challenge of aging and finding joy in the process of becoming the healthiest, most vibrant versions of ourselves.
What a fantastic way to sum it up. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Dr. Attia's Outlive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration for your own longevity journey. Until next time.